Anyways, so let's preview the East.
Okay.
Here, can I kick this off?
Yes.
Because I want to say something where I feel it's very important to me.
Okay.
I always loved Gerard Gallant as a coach. I loved him when he was the defensive coach in Montreal, and Montreal's defense suffered incredibly in his absence. And then he went and became the head coach in Florida. And then the Panthers all of a sudden started becoming pretty good. But then he had that weird firing. Then he went
in Carolina. Coincidentally, not ironically.
Ooh. Nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was in Carolina. That's where they literally, and when I say literally, I mean literally, they kicked him to the curb.
Literally no taxi. Yeah. Kicked to the curb, yes. So, and then he went to, of course, Las Vegas, correct, where he really made a name for himself, right?
Yeah.
Taking them to the Stanley Cup Finals. And now he's in the New York Rangers. And now, so what I guess I want to say about this is that the New York Rangers had very poor advanced stats, and I was reading a lot into that. And it didn't at any point occur to me that Gerard Gallant basically just knows his stuff.
Yeah, to me, it's like he's not going to force this.
Right.
Okay, we got the best goalie in the world back there.
Yeah.
So let's use him.
Yeah. So why are we worried about letting the expected goals against go there?
Why are we worried about giving up chances? Because the best, well, I don't know if he's the best goalie in the world, because the other guy in this series is probably the best goalie in the world.
Yeah.
However, that's a part of knowing your team. And there are some coaches who would probably want to force impose something on these guys and say, no, we can't win this way. And ultimately they probably can't.
Yeah.
But we can't win this way. We've got to we've got to play a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's not a lot of fun to play this way, but we got to play this way. And sooner or later they're going to have to start if they really want to win. They're going to have to add that texture to their game.
But they did in the last game against Carolina. Like the way that they protected the house against Carolina in the very last game was pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And there was a bit of keeping them to the outside, which you're right. However, I mean, I think Gerard Gallant has recognized, and he's a player's coach. He's a former player. He understands these things. It's like, okay, it's not about me. It's about the talent that we have.
Yeah.
And so if we're going to give up a bunch of chances against a game, that's okay, because we're going to get a bunch of chances and we're going to get the occasional power play, and it's going to score 32% of the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, what he's done is what... it's similar to what Martin St. Louis did in Montreal, but it's what coaches don't like doing, which is that he has allowed himself to rely on the individual talent of his team.
Right.
And he has allowed himself to say, because coaches don't like doing that, because then they don't have as much control over what's going on.
It's not about them. It's not about them. Yeah.
So he's allowed himself to say, you know what? I don't care that, I don't care that, Kako and Lafreniere are, playing this incredible, whatever, rushing system, blah, 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 this cycle or whatever. What I care about is that individually, both of them who are excellent goal scorers throughout their entire career so far in hockey, what I care about is that they get their chances. What I care about is not that Panarin, plays this solid two-way role, blah, blah, blah line. What I care about is that Panarin gets chances on the net.
Right.
And so he has allowed himself to rely on players individually. And I mean, they're going up against Tampa, and John Cooper is an excellent coach, and Tampa is the opposite. They play a team structure, an excellent team structure.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. But the fact is that nobody's slowed down the New York Rangers so far.
Yeah, no. Louis Domingue couldn't do it. Antti Ranta couldn't do it. Kokjaklelev couldn't do it. They've faced some really. Well, I mean, Ranta was.
In fairness, Ranta had himself.
Was excellent. Yeah. But you know what? This is a whole new ball game as far as I'm concerned. I mean, as great as Shesterkin's been, Vasilevsky's actually been better.
That's an interesting question.
Well, he wasn't at the beginning of the first round, but they both had their yips, right?
They did.
Games 3 and 4 in the first round, Shesterkin was terrible. Yeah. And there were games in the first round when Vasilevsky wasn't that good either. So it sort of all evens out. But I mean, to me, Tampa Bay can play. Like the thing that sort of impresses me most about Tampa Bay is, yeah, sure. Well, you just let us know how you want to play the game, and we'll beat you at it. Like we'll beat you at it, and we know we'll beat you at it. Like John Cooper said in the first round, some of the stuff he said, it was, when they were running into trouble, it was like, yeah, they're good. The Leafs are good, but it's us. It's not them. It's us.
Yeah.
And and then they turned that whole narrative around. And to me, if you want to play a run and gun game, yeah, okay, we're good. If you want to play a down and dirty game, okay, we're fine. You want to play a 2-1 game? We're good there too. We'll give you nothing once we get up in the third period by a goal. We will give you absolutely nothing. Yeah. And to me, I think the most important thing about the Tampa Bay Lightning is I don't think at the beginning of the year that they were convinced that they had another cup in them. I really don't think they did.
I don't think they did either.
I don't think they thought that they could do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And now they know they can do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they have gone from a 2-time cup champion to a 2-time cup champion who recognizes the possibility of being a dynasty. And I don't think that can be discounted. I think, this team, they have a culture, they have a standard, and when they're this close, they're going to push it.
They, when you listen to them talk last year after winning the Stanley Cup, a lot of the narrative was around, we had to do it because we're not going to have this core next year,
right,
et cetera,
right.
et cetera.
And now it's like, let's do it for Corey Perry. Let's do it for, Brandon Hagel. Let's do it for the guys that haven't won.
Let's do it for the undisputed best hockey player in the league, Pat Maroon.
Right. 4 in a row.
4 in a row.
And when I say guys who haven't won it, I do know that Corey Perry won a Stanley Cup in 2007.
150 years ago.
With the Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah.
But it's been a while.
So Andrei Vasilevsky has a .932 save percentage. Igor Shesterkin has a .928. Mm-hmm. Igor Shesterkin has better goals saved above average with 7.2 to Andrei Vasilevsky's 6.8.
Oh, somebody said he saved 11 goals above expected or something like that.
What is an expected goal is a proprietary stat. So some websites will calculate it one way and some will calculate it another way. Okay. I tend to use natural stat trick. Here's the interesting one though. High danger save percentage. Vasilevsky's got a .915. So high danger just being
that's shots, amazing, right?
Shots close to the crease or, in the home plate area.
Yeah.
And Shesterkin has what's about an average at 848. So it's interesting that Vasilevsky. Yeah, but that's so. I mean, if you're Tampa Bay, you're saying, well, then I've got to muscle to the front of the net, right? Yeah. Because that's where high danger is, right? So, if you're the Rangers here, you're going, well, I don't know where to beat Vasilevsky. I don't know what section of ice do I have to fight for because. You can look at high danger, mid danger, low danger. If you are actually reviewing game tape, you can look at the, lateral movement versus how they fight through screens versus how they, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of I'm convinced that we are in a day and age where there's no solving a goaltender by a shooter. There's no shooter that can turn around and say, oh, the goalie's weak glove side. No goalie is weak glove side in the NHL. No goalie is weak blocker side in the NHL. No goalie is weak 5-hole in the NHL. There are no Ilya Bryzgalovs out there. Right. Yeah. And especially in this playoff series, at which point, when you're talking about solving a goalie, you have to talk about that as a team. And so it's very interesting to me that, obviously the front of the net is the hardest ice to fight for in a hockey game. But if you're talking about Andrei Vasilevsky, who has a .915 in front of his net, then you're like, well, why am I even fighting for that ice? Yeah. How am I beating him there? Right. Yeah, why am I taking, well, Ryan McDonough's not a big cross checker actually, but you know what I mean? Well, Sergachev can be dirty little bugger in front of the net.
Chernak's a monster.
Right. Chernak's a monster. Yeah. It's actually funny that McDonough and Hedman are pretty not all that aggressive.
No.
In terms of, but are excellent, of course, defensively. Like McDonough has quietly put himself together a very, very good playoffs this year.
Yeah, and he did that last year and the year before too.
Yeah. Montreal draft pick.
Yes.
How's Scott Gomez working out?
Yeah.
That's always the joke. So I don't know. Like this series is so difficult to predict.
Not for me. I think Tampa's gonna crush them. I'm going 100%, by the way, on Tampa and I'm thinking part of it is that I'm already like destroying you. So I'll either just like
you'll either implode or
no. I'll crush you into dust, or I'll let you back in this thing.
Right.
So you can be strategic about it. I don't think this series is going to be close. I really don't. I think that Tampa is by far the superior team, even though they actually, technically, they go into this series as the underdog because they're starting on the road.
Yeah.
And New York had more points. But I really believe that Tampa's just going to take this series by the throat, the way they did against Florida, and I don't think that the New York Rangers, well, they realize what they're up against, but they are not like what they faced in the first two rounds. Is nothing compared to what they're going to face.
Yeah, but I mean, nothing. Carolina, they showed some of that. Like, to be honest, they're an excellent team, and just they just had a nasty habit of imploding.
Yeah, could you see the Tampa Bay Lightning going up 2-0 in this series and then losing?
Yeah,
no,
well, fair enough.
I mean, they had them. They were up 2-0 in the series. You know?
Can I throw out some other little goalie microstats in this series?
Sure.
Just to be clear, microstats, they're not always the most important indicators in the world. A lot of people on Twitter love to quote microstats as if they mean something very profound. But in this case, it's just interesting. Andrei Vasilevsky has faced, in the entire playoffs, in all strengths, 21 rush attempts against.
Okay.
So the Tampa Bay Lightning have been so good at preventing rushes, which is how New York seems to like to play, that Vasilevsky's only faced 21.
Shesterkin's faced probably, I'm going to say 70.
32.
Okay, well, that's, yeah.
So it's worse, but not.
I thought it would be worse.
But hang on, this is where it gets fun. Andrei Vasilevsky's faced only 42 rebound attempts against. Mm-hmm. Now, part of that is he's got good rebound control, but part of that is the defense's ability to clear the crease. How many has Shesterkin faced?
I'm not going to guess because I was so off on
103.
Holy snapping.
103 rebound attempts against Shesterkin. Now, part of that is that, he bobbles pucks once in a while. But part of that is like we have seen it where the puck, it just seems like it's all over his crease.
If I were Pat Maroon, the first thing I'd do is skate by Shesterkin and just look at him and go, that's what I'd do.
Yeah. Yeah. If I were Pat Maroon, I'd skate by Shesterkin and say, you've probably enjoyed life up until now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know what? So it's hard when you're wrong so much as I have been to trust your instincts, because I want to give Tampa 100% as well.
I don't know.
But I've very underestimated the New York Rangers. And like I said about Gerard Gallant, I've always loved him as a coach. I've loved him from his Montreal days as a coach.
Well, be strategic about it. Give New York 100. And then that way.
No, I'm not going to be strategic about it.
And then that way, you're going to pick up like 150 points.
I like to lose honestly. I like to lose honestly. I'm not going to be strategic about it.
That's what losers say.
I maintained my dignity.
Yeah, that's what you did. Okay.
I'm going to give Tampa 65%.
That's it? Okay, whatever.
It's a 35-point swing.
Yeah, I'm giving Tampa 100.
Okay.
I don't think, like I said, I don't think this series is going to be close.
Okay.
At all.
It's a 35-point swing, and which actually is times 4 for this round.
I thought it was times 3 and then times 4 in the final.
Oh, pardon me. You're right. It would be times 3. Right. Yeah.
So, it's a
decent swing.
What did you say? It's a 35% swing?
Yeah.
So you could pick up 115 points.
Yeah, but I'm still picking the team that I think is going to win.
And what am I at right now? 162 or something like that?
125.
Oh, 125. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, okay. I could pick up a lot of points for being wrong here is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, let's just do the prediction for the other series because our preview for the other series.
Correct.
Stick around.
Yeah.
We didn't do that because, of course, we had two very busy guests on.
Yeah.
One looked more busy than the other. So what's your prediction for the other series?
Well, you'll find out when we talk to Spec and Adrian. I was way more conflicted on this than I thought I was going to be.
Yeah.
Way more.
Yeah.
And it's only because so much of Edmonton's the narrative around Edmonton's season was that 2-11-2 stretch.
Yeah.
But if you throw that out,
yeah,
they've had exactly the same, like over the last 46 games, the Colorado Avalanche and the Edmonton Oilers have had exactly the same record.
Yeah.
And the Oilers, like this sample size is big enough to say that they are an elite NHL team.
Yeah.
And I want to pick them. I really do. I want to pick them, but I can't. I just think the depth that Colorado has is going to prevail. I think it's going to be Colorado in 7, but I'm going like 55-45, 55%
for Colorado.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm a lot more conflicted as well. And the thing that's really got me conflicted is in net because look, if there's one goalie that like could potentially just fall apart, it is Mike Smith. And I'm not trying to be
just in terms of health.
Right. In terms of health, in terms of fatigue. I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but I'm, my joke is that every goalie guy has a very love-hate relationship with Mike Smith, right?
Yeah.
So just in terms of health, in terms of fatigue, if there's one goalie that can fall apart, it's Mike Smith. But for all intents and purposes, like Darcy Kemper's not had a good playoffs. He's got a .904 save percentage. Yeah. He's let in 2 more goals, 2.14 goals saved above expected, minus 2.14. He's let in, he's not playing league average. So he's got an 811 for high danger save percentage. Mike Smith has an 843, which is around, average.
Which is average, yeah.
Yeah. I guess my point is that goaltending sinks ships, man.
Yeah.
Goaltending sinks ships.
Okay, so what are you saying? You're saying that Edmonton has the better goal?
No, I'm just saying that if it wasn't,
Edmonton does have the better goal.
I'm just saying that if it wasn't for that, there'd be no conflict at all in my mind. I'd be like Colorado 100%. I'd give a Ken Campbell prediction here.
Yeah,
but that goaltending really just it really, it's boy. I should really start thinking about these in advance, before we do this.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, it might be a good idea.
You've got Colorado at 55%.
I do.
I'm going to take the same logic that you took last series for the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put Edmonton at 55%.
Nice.
And the reason why you said you don't know that there's anybody out there that can stop Connor McDavid.
Right.
And I look at how Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and Zach Hyman completely dismantled an excellent defensive core. Even without Chris Tanev, they're still an excellent defensive core.
Yep.
I look at how they dismantled them and dismantled the goaltender in Jakob Markstrom.
Yeah.
And I think you've got a worse goalie and you've got a worse defensive core. All due respect. A worst in zone defensive core. Okay.
Yeah.
You could argue that it's a better defensive core all over.
Yeah.
This is the thing that stats guys always have trouble with, is because you like to quote Corsi on a defensive core, but that doesn't necessarily measure in zone defense. And if you can say that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are guys that can gain the zone, then you've got now a question as to what the defensive core will be able to do against them.
How much will they have it in the zone, though, is my question. Yeah. So anyways, but you bring up some good points.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we've got ourselves a 10-point swing on that one, which becomes a 30-point swing.
Right. So you know, if I'm wrong on both, you're in the lead.
Thanks, Ken. That's so nice of you. Yeah. All right, well, let's get to the interview. Before we do, check out kencampbell.substack.com. You just wrote an article. I didn't get a chance to read it because I was setting up for this. Ken Ken Holland gets the last laugh, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, he does in a way, because like everybody thought he was the village idiot a couple of months ago.
It's very true.
And now,
us included.
I never did.
Well, I know. Yeah.
He's a pretty great guy. I think he's a pretty smart guy. I think he's,
But we were all scratching our heads on the goaltending thing.
Yeah, I did have some questions about some of the things.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Village idiot is harsh, but yes.
Yeah.
We had some questions.
Correct.
Yes. All right. Okay. So check out kencampbell.substack.com. Check us out on Apple Podcasts. Check out the YouTube for the Hockey Podcast Network, and also, of course, our personal YouTube account, where you can get all of these little clips, little bite-sized segments where you can just listen to us for 10 minutes at a time, because that's what we find people are able to stomach.
To endure.
That was a Bob Newhart thing. As he was closing off one of his stand-up sets, he said, well, I'm going to wrap it up now, because I found that this is about as much as an audience can take. He said, we start to hear murmurings and people start passing notes, and somebody sometimes comes up and asks me politely to leave. The guy's such a class act.
Yeah.